car again, got a little bit of a drive, so I figured what better way to piss the time than do a little video. Hopefully I can make this quick. Long videos get kind of boring. And this may be a long video because I got a long drive. But anyway, last video I did was on about, holy cow, that dude had a tree sticking up through his sunroof. I guess when there's a will, there's a way. My last video was on frustration and failure. That dude wasn't going to fail. He just straight stuck it through the sunroof, put it in the front seat with him. Probably put the seatbelt on it too. Well, you gonna bet. Anyway, I done lost my train of thought. But if you're a CF patient, I want to encourage you to get out, meet people, and do the things. CF can be very isolating, very lonely sometimes, not just because of you're carrying around a sickness that I don't want to say you're hiding, but I'll get to that in a minute. But you're carrying it around and it's not visible, right? Unless people know you have it, they don't know you have it. They can't look at you and see. They can't tell unless they're around you for a little bit of time that something just isn't quite right. But don't be afraid of getting sick or getting around people. I know towards the end of my first set of lungs, before the transplant, I kind of let that be more more prevalent in my life than I used to, simply because when your lung functions drop that low, sickness is a real threat. So, if you're still got high lung functions and things like that, and you're keeping them up and you're doing what you're supposed to do, don't be afraid to get out. Don't be afraid to live life. Don't be afraid to have friends and influence people and that kind of thing, simply because you're carrying something that they may not know you have. On that note, don't let people tell you that you're hiding something. I went for 37 years and I had friends that never knew I had a disease until I needed a lung transplant. And people say, well, you were good at hiding it. No, I wasn't hiding it. I just refused to let it be the topic of discussion every time I was around. I would cough my head off and people would make jokes, about coughing up a lung, or you need to quit smoking. And I'd just laugh and say, yeah, I do, or something like that. I never brought up the fact that I've got a sickness and that's why I'm doing this, not because I didn't want to answer questions or because I wanted to be didn't want to be seen as sick. It's simply because if you allow it, it will take over your life, and it will become, every time you're around, people will treat you with kid gloves, make sure that everything's clean, nobody around you is sick, and they'll all constantly be asking you, can you do this, can you do that, or you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be doing that. That was one of my biggest pet peeves, because they think, well, the exertion or whatever, or the is going to be too much, when in all honesty, CF patients need the push. We don't need to be told to sit down and let me do this. We need to be told, you need to get up and you need to do this, because working those lungs and getting them working and keeping them working is the goal, and that's the best way to do it. So anytime somebody talks about hiding your sickness, don't get discouraged and don't get upset, because you're not hiding it. And if you feel like it, explain it to them. It's not that I'm hiding this illness from everyone. It's just that when I come around, I don't want it to be, the focus of what is going on around me. I worked several jobs and wound up having to tell my bosses, that I have a lung illness, because they would catch me catching my breath or coughing or whatever, and just be like, are you sick? What's wrong? And I'd be like, well, this is kind of what I've got going on, and I just have to do what I can, as much as I can, so, and they understood, and a lot of times, again, it was one of those situations where they were like, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing this, let me get somebody else. And it's like, no, I'll do it, just give me a little bit, So don't feel like you're hiding something simply because you're not walking around telling everybody, I've got CF, I've got CF, I've got CF. It's a very personal thing, in my opinion. Not everybody needs to know, not everybody wants to know, and not everybody should know. There are people out there who will look at you negatively because of it. I've run into a couple of them, not many, but I've run into more people that were more mothering, for lack of a better term, about it, because they thought that I shouldn't be doing the things I was doing, but because of their ignorance of the illness, they just had, they just meant well, but they didn't understand that I needed to be doing the things, or I wouldn't have been. So keep that in mind, as you live your life. Always, get out and do what you can. You can't always go, you can't always do, and it can be very isolating, very lonely sometimes. I'm an introvert. Doing these videos is sort of outside my comfort zone, and it's something that took a lot of prayer and a lot of thought, a lot of encouragement for me to do, because again, this isn't me. But going through the lung transplant process, I couldn't help but notice that there was just, a lack of encouragement or stuff out there for specifically CF patients, and I want to make sure that if I'm nothing more than just another, name on the pile or voice in the distance, then that's what I am. I want to make sure that CF patients know that you're not alone in what you're doing and all that. And there's been a lot of hype recently around the movie 6 Feet Apart. I haven't seen it, so I don't know anything about it. I probably won't like it. I don't have any plans to watch it. I'm not a big, teen romance movie watching guy. I don't, I just don't. I don't want to see it. I have no desire to see it. I've thought about watching it simply because I see a lot of people making comments about it and posting about it and things like that. My experience has been sort of 50-50 as far as CF patients go. Some like it, some don't. Some think it's good, some think it's bad. That being said, anything about CF is going to be good for getting the message out, getting the word out. Regardless of how it's being put out or anything. It's the old saying, bad press is still press, but I'm not sure if I'm ever going to watch it, so I'm not going to give you some sort of critique on the movie. Just from the trailers I've seen and the things that I've read, it's not something that I'm interested in seeing. So if you think it's good, great. If you think it's bad, then I don't think you got to justify that opinion. There are movies that I thought were just horrible that I know won Academy Awards. So everybody's opinion is their own when it comes to stuff like that. If you did see it and like it, encourage people to see it. We need all the help we can get to get the word out, and as far as getting funds funneled into the right place so that we can get the cure developed and given out to everybody, because we want to make sure that we it probably won't happen in my lifetime. It would be awesome if it was. I would love to see it work, and especially the young guys and girls out there, would love to see them, you know, be able to beat something that almost killed me several times throughout life. I don't want anybody to have to go through that. But be encouraged, because again, you're not alone. Everybody's got struggles they deal with. CF patients aren't the only, you know, patients out there. That disease is not the only disease out there that limits people in what they can do. It's not the only disease out there that isolates people and causes, you know, loneliness and things like that. Watch out for depression. I've only been depressed, I think, maybe once or twice in my entire life. Looking back on it now, I can see that's what it was. At the time, I couldn't. I've never dealt with depression really, so it's really kind of foreign to me. It's not something that I would notice right off. Both times were, you know, major life events that just didn't go the way I thought they should or was expecting, and it caused it. I'm usually a pretty positive, upbeat person, so depression is sort of foreign to me. But I know there are a lot of CF patients out there that suffer from it, and isolation can make it worse. You know, it's different if you're isolating because you need to recoup or you're trying to get healthy again. It's a completely different thing to be isolating because you're scared of getting something or worried about, you know, something happening to you. You can't live life like that. It's not fun for anybody. You know, even the people around you that love you don't want you living that way. If you need to make extra, you know, adjustments or arrangements, then do so. I'm not telling you not to, you know, and just put yourself out there and without any kind of cautions or reservations. That's not what I'm saying. But get yourself out there, because friends help. You know, I've been visited in a hospital by friends that I would have never expected to show up, you know, but they did. And it's very encouraging when friends and family come and visit you in the hospital and send you cards and things like that. Candy was always my favorite. Unfortunately, you know, I'm dealing with the diabetic thing now, and I'll talk about that too. I was never CFRD until after the lung transplant, which is crazy. I didn't even know it could happen that way, but it did. But again, it's very encouraging to receive things like that from family. Visits are just, you know, the ultimate when you're laid up in a hospital and can't really get out and communicate. In today's world with cell phones and Skype and laptops and all of that, it's much easier to do that. But there's just something about having somebody walk physically into your room and just sit and talk with you about it. And in times like that, you know, feel comfortable in the conversation being about you. Again, I'm a very private person, very reserved, introverted. I don't like to talk about me very much, which is why these videos are so sort of uncomfortable for me and foreign. But when you're in the hospital, know that it's okay, you know, for the conversation to be about you. I mean, you're there for a purpose. They're there to see you and figure out or find out what's going on and how you're doing and things like that. So, you know, answer the questions as much as you feel comfortable answering them, and just, you know, revel in the fact that you're the center of attention for a little while, and just really milk it, you know, because it's probably not the last time it'll happen, but it always feels good sometimes to be, you know, or to know that people are thinking about you. And two, you know, it's therapeutic, believe it or not, to get stuff out. You know, just saying it out loud. Like, I'm talking to this cell phone right now. There's nobody in the car with me, so I'm not talking to anybody. And if nobody ever sees this video, then I'm not talking to anybody at all. So, but there's just something really, really encouraging and therapeutic and relaxing about getting it all out, saying it out loud, and just getting it out, and not just holding it in and trying to deal with it all the time. But you know, if you know someone who has CF, you know, make sure that you communicate often with them. you know, communicating with other CF patients never really seemed to be my thing. I always seemed to be wind up, you know, whether it was personality wise or whatever, just, you know, we just didn't agree on a lot of things. But that being said, it was always nice to know that there was someone out there who knew what I was going through and knew, you know, the struggles and everything that comes along with it, and was dealing with it their own selves in their own way and succeeding. That was real encouraging. You know, it's one of those if you know you can do it, I can do it kind of things, and I did it, so I know you can do it, and I encourage you to do it. Just do life, do it the best you can, do it as much as you can, and really enjoy those times. And try not to focus on the bad or the negative, or let it, you know, overtake your life, because being a CF patient, it can really become the center of attention and the focus in everything you do, and it gets, you know, that gets old and frustrating in and of itself. But no, you're not alone. Again, you know, you can dig me up on Facebook. I don't have very many CF patients or CF friends on Facebook. I've got a few. Most of them are bodybuilders, simply because I'm kind of a health nut myself. I made it 37 years working out and eating right. You know, lifestyle makes a big difference. But yeah, just make sure that you're getting that connection, that human connection somewhere. Family helps, but sometimes, you know, you need a friend. And hopefully you stumble across this video, you can dig me up. You know, there's all kinds of ways to get a hold of me, and I'll be glad to talk to you about anything that you're facing, or you're coming into, or want to figure out. You know, I've been from I had 37 years of dealing with the illness. You know, I've been through the double lung transplant, which is probably the pinnacle, you know, of the illness. So I've seen it all. You know, give me a shout, we'll talk. Hopefully I can help you. Hopefully these videos can help you. If they do, let me know. I greatly appreciate it. And God bless. We love y'all. We'll see you next time.